Welcome to Talking Technology with NCBI Labs, where we believe that technology is the single greatest enabler for people with sight loss and all disabilities. If you are interested in the latest technology news, products, and innovations, then you've come to the right place.
Hello and welcome to Talking Technology, episode number 36. Goodness, we're at 36 already for the 25th of July 2023. It seems, just from the anecdotal evidence I'm seeing around the place, that the country is currently in what can only be described as Coldplay mania. Everybody is trying to get those pre-sale tickets for the events in Croke Park next year. It seems like absolute chaos, but we're up to 4 gigs now, so the chances have doubled since this morning. So excitement is real, but don't worry, if you didn't get the tickets, well, we might not be able to provide you with Coldplay, but we'll give you the next best thing, which is a podcast packed to the rafters with all sorts of great technology content. And we do have a show with all sorts coming up throughout the next hour or so. So please do stick with us. We've got loads coming up. We'll be introducing you to a brand new member of the NCBI Labs team. Really exciting news. We heard from Chris last time, but Chris isn't the only new starter. We've got, with the team is really expanding quite fast now. We've got Dorian, who will be joining us later on in the show to tell us about his role and introduce himself to you. So we'll have that coming up later on. And we will also be talking to Filip from BlindShell. Many of you will be familiar with the BlindShell mobile phones. They're smartphones, but they're also button phones and they talk. What more could you want in a mobile phone, eh? Well, we'll be talking to Filip about all things BlindShell coming up later on in the show. And of course, we'll have Talking Technology news and quick picks as normal, so do stick around for that. If you do want to get in touch with us, you can absolutely do that. You can use the Q&A panel on Microsoft Teams, as always, or you can send an email to labs@ncbi.ie. You know how to do it. You're well used to it. So let's get this show on the road, shall we, for another episode of Talking Technology with NCBI Labs. So first up, we are off to BlindShell. Well, BlindShell is a really cool product. I've actually got one, the BlindShell Classic, sitting next to me here. And the BlindShell basically is a smartphone that is button operated. And to tell me all about the BlindShell, we're joined by Filip from BlindShell, and he joins us now. Filip, hello and welcome to Talking Technology. Okay, we seem to be having some technical problems getting Filip in from BlindShell. So what we'll do is we'll move swiftly on for now, and we'll come back to Filip from BlindShell later. Not to panic. I think we'll send JP on the case. JP is we might have to send him running to the Czech Republic himself with a microphone there. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I'm already on a flight, David.
He's already on a flight. Good man. He was booking the Ryanair flight while everyone else was on Ticketmaster. Good man, JP. So we'll switch gears temporarily, and I guess we'll do. We were planning to do this as our second topic, but Dorian, you're up. Here we go. Let's see how this goes.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear, which is good. That's certainly an improvement. Dorian is a new member of the NCBI Labs team. He is working out of our Tala office in Dublin. And he joins us now to tell us all about his role and about himself and to introduce himself to listeners. Dorian, welcome to the Talking Technology podcast. You're on sooner than expected.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Just so you know, you haven't dialed through to Australia. This is the Tala office. I'm just the new Australian on the team. So there you are.
Yeah, we had Liverpool 2 weeks ago, and now we're off to Australia. What part of Australia are you from, Dorian?
Yeah, so I'm from Perth, Western Australia. So there's a famous, for Australians anyway, there's a famous bug called a sand groper. And it's often what you refer to when you're talking to a Western Australian. You'd call them a sand groper.
Oh, there you go.
So there you go.
some trivia for you. Absolutely. So, Dorian, welcome, first of all, to the team. You're new enough in the gig. How long are you with NCBI now? And how are you settling in?
Yeah, so I've been with the NCBI for about 6 weeks. And yeah, have really enjoyed the varied scope that we cover. It is quite amazing, because before coming into this role, there were things that I knew about what the role would entail, but lo and behold, as I've learned, it covers a lot more than I initially thought, which is really exciting, really exciting.
And I guess, had you ever worked then with visually impaired people before, or is this a totally new experience for you then?
Yeah, really good question. Well, previously in Western Australia, I'd worked for a university or a college, as you'd call it here, or a uni, as we call it in Australia. Most of my job was supporting lecturers and students with things like the learning management system or other forms of, technology. But unfortunately, a small proportion of our students and academic staff were visually impaired. So I'd only had, a small exposure, but
Sure.
but the exposure that I had left me intrigued and certainly wanted to know more about assistive technology and that sort of thing. So
what
a
was
little
the
bit.
What was the biggest shock when you kind of started working at NCBI then? Was there anything where you were like, oh, that's different to what I expected? Or was it fairly plain sailing once you stepped in? Like, how did you find getting started with this whole new world of the broad range of assistive technology that's out there?
Yeah. So, yes, like with technology in general, as we know, it's constantly changing. But what I was surprised with was the amount of assistive technology that's available. Like I knew a little bit about it, but I was really impressed and somewhat surprised with the availability of assistive technology. And then obviously having to learn how to pass that knowledge on to a service user or somebody like that. So I'm surprised, and I'm glad to see so much technology out there that's
Pleasantly
assistive.
surprised.
Very
good, very good. And I guess we better ask then some of those important questions as well, like the simple question. I asked Chris this as well, so I can't leave you off the hook. Are you an iOS or an Android man, Dorian?
Oh, that's a dangerous question, isn't it, these days? Look, I maybe like some people out there, I started off on Team Nokia.
Okay, fair enough.
And then the first smartphone that I got was an Android, so it set a good impression on me.
Okay.
But then I started using an iOS as well, and I thought, they're quite similar, actually, believe it or not. I know they have different things that they show on the screen or say to you or whatever. But I'm gonna step back and just take the easy way out and say I'm neither. I'm team neither. I like both.
What's your daily driver though? What do you have in your pocket right now?
Okay. Well, my work phone is an iOS, but I guess my personal phone is a Google Pixel. So
he's still
Android.
Not getting out of it. He's look, you're like a politician, well able to avoid it. I appreciate it. Well done.
Yes, I don't discriminate on technology. That's for sure.
Good man. Fair play. I guess on the other side then, what about Windows or Mac? Are you in any camp on that front?
Oh, look. Yeah, it really depends on what you're doing, doesn't it? I think, so many times what's often provided by say a college or a workplace is Windows. So it's really important to know how Windows works, and you shouldn't really try to stay away from it. But then if you want to do something digital and creative, dare I say it, Mac comes first in that way. So I'm going to do the politician thing again and say I don't prefer either. It really depends what you're doing.
What you're doing.
How's that?
Fair
Again,
enough.
for an answer.
No, I mean, look, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. You are right in what you're saying, that I guess for those creative tasks, it is a Mac way to go. And then for the productivity, arguably Windows is better. You're probably correct in that,
Yes.
But yeah, I guess it's an interesting one. How are you finding just, I guess your first interactions now with, service users and so on? What kind of assistive technology have you found yourself settling into and kind of getting familiar with in the first little while in the job? Has there been any specific assistive technology that really impressed you?
Yeah, so I think often, the simple things, are quite impressive. So a lot of these digital magnifiers that are available now, as opposed to, like a reflective lens type magnifier, where, we've all seen, perhaps back in the day, people would pick up a magnifier and hold it over a newspaper. The digital types now are quite amazing, and the way that they can, capture images like a photograph, and then you can have a look at it later on.
Sure.
But also being able to change the contrast is quite impressive, because that's what I've noticed. Some service users prefer black on yellow or blue on purple or whatever it is. And, taking something simple like a magnifier and then adding little bits of tech is quite impressive. But then, phone apps as well, because a lot of the assistive technology options don't have to be expensive. They might be free. So, Be My Eyes, for example, I only was recently introduced to that a few weeks ago, and I thought that's amazing. How
it's a cool concept.
you'd actually talk to a real person and have them, describe something for you. Amazing.
Yeah,
and that's free.
Absolutely. Yeah, there are free things like that out there, like Be My Eyes and stuff like that. And we covered only recently here on Talking Technology, that they've added, you can get specialized support from companies like Sky and Spotify and Clear Blue and all that through these apps. And it's really cool to see, how the technology is always evolving in many respects, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Something that perhaps, 15 years ago would have cost you a lot of money now is free and somewhat better on a phone app that you can download for free. It's quite amazing.
Absolutely. Well, Dorian, thank you very much for joining us on Talking Technology and jumping into the ring so quickly when we had those technical issues earlier on. Really appreciate that. But you're very welcome to the team. And do you want to tell people before we wrap up, whereabouts in the country are you going to be working? What's all that going to be looking like? And if people do need a bit of technical support, how they can reach you, I guess.
Yes. So as per, I guess, everyone else's role in our team, providing support by way of technology assessments for those who don't really know what they want, or demonstrations for people that do know what they want and they just want to know how to use it, training, support, virtual tech clubs. Hopefully we'll be involved with those soon, similar to this. And I'll be based at Talla. So if anybody's located near the Talla area and would like some support, feel free to get through to the email address as per normal or the phone number. And I'll be happy to support. Looking forward to meeting as many people as possible.
Fantastic. Dorian, you're very welcome to the team. And thank you so much again for joining us on Talking Technology.
Excellent. Thanks for having me, David.
My pleasure. So those details, again, if you do want to get support, whether you're in Talla or whether you're anywhere across the country, if you do need support from NCBI Labs, please don't hesitate to send us an email to labs@ncbi.ie, or you can give us a call at any time to 1-800-911-110. That's 1-800-911-110. Now, we are on to a really exciting topic now. We're going to go for attempt number 2. Let's see how this one goes. Filip is joining us from BlindShell to tell us all about their really cool products. And Filip joins us now. Filip, hello, can you hear me?
Hello, I can, David. Hello, can you hear me?
We can indeed. We got you in the second time lucky, Filip.
Perfect. Thank you very much for having me here.
So, Filip, the BlindShell, you work for BlindShell. First of all, do you want to tell us a little bit about what the BlindShell is? It's really a smartphone, but it's got buttons on it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a great combination of both. Let's say we take the good from both ends. Our device is basically when you have the phone in your hands for the first time, it may remind you a Nokia style phone like 20 years ago. It's a standard tactile phone with a small display and buttons under it. Even the size is approximately the same as Nokia's phones used to be. However, in the inside, we have a modern smartphone, which has most of the features and apps and functions that you're used to having in your standard smartphone. So you can write emails, you can use WhatsApp, you can listen to the internet radios, you can listen to podcasts, you can Shazam your music, you can listen to YouTube. Most of the standards and most frequently used apps are there as well, but in a very, let's say, easy to use and accessible way. So everything is controlled by physical buttons. There is no touch screen. The screen is just for the visually impaired, or even we have many customers without even sight handicap, just seniors who find our products very intuitive and easy to use. But our real focus is on the blind and visually impaired users. So when you first take the phone in your hands, it's a very, very simple and intuitive operation. So in a couple of minutes, you should be able to work with the phone using just your fingers and your ears, because the phone always provides you voice feedback. So it will always tell you where you are in the menu. There is no chance that you get lost somewhere in the menu, or you click on something and you don't know how to get back. It's really very simple.
And
so that's what we do. Sorry for being so long.
That's totally fine. And is it then, I guess, is it a custom kind of setup that you've built for the BlindShell then? Obviously, it talks through all of its menus, but it seems like a custom interface, is it?
It is, indeed. It is. Well, there is an Android beneath all the phone, but a real user will never face the real Android. The Android is there just for our developers when we want to implement new apps, new features, or to reinstall the phone, to fix bugs and whatever. But a real user will only face something what we called a BlindShell operation system, BlindShell environment, which is a very simple environment formed of just a black background with white text, or of course you can switch to other color layout. We have 4 color layouts, but the default and most frequently used is just a very simple white text on black background. This is what you see. Even when you are using third-party applications such as YouTube or email clients, the menu, what you see on the display is still the same. It's all black background with the white text. Wherever you are in the menu, or if you are using a third-party application, this is the big benefit of the phone, because you can be using YouTube, for example, but you don't have to deal with advertisements, with logos, with you cannot just get lost, because you always have the very simple and intuitive menu.
And then for those kind of third-party applications, I guess, how are you getting, support across the board from these different companies? Are these apps being specifically developed by BlindShell then for, say, the likes of YouTube, or is it using the standard YouTube app? Like if I get a BlindShell, can I use any third-party apps, or do I need to get an app developed by BlindShell?
Unfortunately, you cannot use all the apps in the world. We focus on quantity, not on quality. On quality, not on quantity. So we don't allow end customers to download and install any third-party application because not all of them are accessible. So not all of them would be easy to use in our phone, and also not all of them would be compatible with our phone. So we focus on implementation only those applications that are frequently used, that are required by the community. We are very active in the blind and visually impaired community, and we keep collecting feedbacks on what people are using and what people are really asking us to implement. And we want to be sure that all the apps that are implemented in the Classic 2 are really 100% compatible with the phone and 100% accessible. So we don't deal with customers getting lost in the menu and not with the apps are not working well, etc. So there is one disadvantage. Not all apps are running on the BlindShell Classic 2, but on the other hand, all of those that are available are 100% accessible and very easy to use. So that's our strategy.
Interesting. And I guess, do you want to give us then an idea of, some of the apps that have recently come to the BlindShell Classic 2? Because you're adding new apps all the time, really, aren't you?
Yes, we are releasing major updates approximately 3 or 4 times a year, bringing in new applications. I think just from our recent call, which was like a few months ago, I think we've implemented Amazon Alexa. We've implemented Zoom phone conferences. And there are plenty of others. I cannot be too specific because there are many apps that are in the stage of testing, and some of them may not be included in the final choice because they won't be 100% working well. So I don't want to mention them. But we keep adding new, and we plan to release 2 more updates still within this year, by the end of this year.
That's fantastic. And I guess the really cool thing as well about BlindShell is you're starting to slowly but surely build up a kind of an ecosystem around these devices. Like we've seen with, if we look at Apple or the iPhone or whatever, that they have things like AirTags. But you've started to bring in your own kind of equivalent products and accessories to go alongside BlindShell. Do you want to tell us about some of those?
Yeah, thank you for this question. Because BlindShell Classic 2 is not just a mobile phone, it's also an assistive technology product, assistive device. So we have a couple of, we call it Vision 8 apps or features that are included in the phone. One of them that you mentioned is the NFC object tagging. We use NFC, which stands for the Near Field Communication. This is the technology that you use for your debit cards when you pay in the store. You no longer have to insert the card really into the machine. You just point it at the machine, and the near field communication technology makes it all for you. So we use this technology in stickers. We have sticking labels that you can mark object with. And you can record or type a description on each of these. So you can mark your bottles with different types of wine, or you can distinguish between a ketchup and mayonnaise, etc. There's plenty of use case for these, and they are pretty cool and easy to use. We also have something that you mentioned with the Apple AirTag. We have a Bluetooth key locator. We call it BlindShell Beep or BlindShell Beeper, which is a Bluetooth object square object with approximately 4 on 4 centimeters dimensions and 5 millimeters high, which you can stick to your keys, for example, or to your wallet, or any object that you keep losing all the time. And you pair it by Bluetooth with the phone, and if you cannot find your keys, you just open the app in the phone and beep it. So you can localize the product, which may be laying just beside you. Or I think Dorian mentioned Be My Eyes. It's also implemented in the phone. So there is an app, Be My Eyes. We have Google Lookout, also another one which is very popular. I think I don't have to talk further about Google Lookout.
Absolutely
I think
not.
the community knows it very, very well. And there is also, for example, color indicator or a light sensor. So plenty of assistive technology included in mobile phone as well.
That's brilliant. And it's really cool to see, that there is a phone, yes, visually impaired people, a lot of people who listen to this podcast, they might be iPhone or Android users or whatever, and they may be fairly tech savvy, and, they might have initially, I guess, almost written off something like a button phone at this point. But it's really cool to see that the button phone can still be quite smart in many ways. And there's a great opportunity to just make it a more accessible experience across the board, really, isn't there?
Yeah. We are not competing against iPhones or any standard smartphones, not at all. We know that if someone is capable of using a standard touchscreen, of course, we know and we openly admitted that standard smartphones offer more apps, more features, more everything. But it's for some it may be very tricky to navigate, to work with the phone. So that's why we bring a solution to those who want to keep up with the latest technology. So they want to be in touch with their friends and send pictures and voice messages through WhatsApp. They want to write emails. They want to listen to the radio, etc. But they cannot work with the touchscreen. So they can do it with physical buttons here at BlindShell Classic 2. So this is our target group. This is the customers who we developed the product for. And one more thing I want to mention, that the phone, I'm talking now about the BlindShell Classic 2. This is a product that was developed and designed by the blind users. We are in a very close relationship with the Czech Blind Organization here in Prague. And these people were the ones who told us exactly what they want. They told us, hey, guys, we need a phone of this size. We need to have this shape of buttons. We need to have this distance between the bottom lines. And we need the operational buttons to be this shape and that big and that far away from each other. And we need to have these functions and these features. So we just did it, but they told the real users, they told us what to do and how to do it. We just did it and brought it to life.
That's awesome. And you mentioned there the BlindShell Classic 2, but do you have other phones in the lineup? And what other BlindShell phones are there for people who maybe don't need a fully fledged BlindShell Classic 2, but do you have other products in the lineup, for example?
Yeah, we have older models as well. Well, the predecessor of BlindShell Classic 2, the original BlindShell Classic, which is a phone which has very similar features as BlindShell Classic 2, but the hardware, the biggest difference between the first and second generation of the BlindShell Classic is the hardware, because the hardware of the first generation wasn't designed by the blind users. That was a third-party hardware that was already existing. So we had the hardware already done, and we started implementing the software part. So the software part runs well, but we had some complaints for the hardware because it's not specifically designed for the needs, to fit the needs of the blind and visually impaired. But obviously, it's a third-party product, so there is no way for us to fix these or to adjust the hardware anyway. So that's the biggest difference between the first and second generation of the Classic. The Classic 2 is 100% our product from our company, which is developed for the specific needs of our target group.
Is it hard to develop a phone? I can't imagine it was a very easy journey. Was it a very tough journey? And how long did something like that take, I guess?
Yeah, it was very, very long and very tough journey. It was like a ping pong with the manufacturer having like maybe 20 or even more demo units, which we got from the manufacturer and had provided a feedback. This bottom is not functioning well. This is too hard to press. This is too sharp. This edge is too sharp. This is too narrow. So it was a very long process. Overall, it took more than 3 years to bring from the first scratch to the launch of the product, which happened in September 21. So in September, it's going to be 2 years when we have the product in sale. And so far, the sales is really great. It's exceeding our expectations. We have already sold over 30,000 units worldwide, which is having in mind the size of the community and the number of people. It's much more than we expected, really.
That's a huge number, isn't it? That's an absolutely huge number. So really, as you say, when you consider the size of the community, a really massive number. Well, Filip, thank you so much for telling us about the BlindShell and the products that you guys develop and sell and so on. How can people find out more about BlindShell?
I think the best way is to contact NCBI, of course, one of your coaches, trainers. I hope also Dorian will soon have his first touch if he doesn't have yet with our products. Of course, you can purchase our products on the NCBI e-shop as well. So I believe this is the best address to go in Ireland.
Absolutely. Well, Filip, thank you so much for joining us on Talking Technology, and who knows, we might have you back again in the future.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much for invitation. It's a pleasure for me. It's a great opportunity to talk about our products. And hopefully see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Filip. And as Filip said there, if you do want to get more information about the BlindShell, you can indeed get that on the NCBI eShop through ncbi.ie, or you can give us a call, 1-800-911-110, or labs@ncbi.ie if you do want to email. And of course, if you do want to maybe get a look at one of the BlindShells, we do have the Classic 2s in many of the offices across the country now as well. So if you want to maybe try out and see what it feels like, push a few buttons and see how it all works, you're more than welcome to do so. Just send us an email and we'll try get that sorted for you. But now, with that said, it's time to move on to Talking Technology News.
This is Talking Technology News.
So with your latest Talking Technology News, I'm Daniel Dunn. The news out this week, Twitter is no more. Well, the name Twitter anyway. The company is going through a rebranding and soon will be known as X, quite simply. X. Unfortunately for screen reader users, the X isn't a normal X and instead is a special character that is skipped by most screen readers. Twitter let its accessibility team go soon after Elon Musk took over the company earlier, and leading to some brands such as NCBI's sister company IA Labs stepping back from the platform. Many blind people and sighted people alike move to platforms like Mastodon, but it's still a shame to see the accessibility of Twitter X disappear. Musk confirmed that tweets will be known as X's going forward, but a name for a retweet isn't clear yet. Who knows what's next for X? We'll just need to wait and see. In more positive news for those with sight loss, the Sky Go app has now got a dark mode. You can have a very dark background with white text if you prefer, or to stick with the original blue design, which is still also available. You can choose between light, dark, and the same as the system in the appearance settings for the app, with it being set to the same as the system-wide scheme by default. Unfortunately, you can't get audio description in the app just yet, but it's good to see these little improvements that might help those with low vision. And dark mode is now available in the latest version of the iOS and Android apps for Sky Go. So just check for updates if you can't see that on your Sky Go app already. Now, here's a little bit of a fixer-upper. Samsung phone users who use the Google Assistant to voice dial their contacts may encounter issues where the phone finds the contact, displays their name on the screen, but does not commence to call them. A simple fix exists where you need to edit your contact's number to include the international code, which is +353, usually for Ireland. You can type the plus by holding down the 0. You'll also need to delete the first 0 in the contact's phone number. So, for example, if you were dialing 08712345667, you would change it to +3538712345667. I hope that's not anybody's phone number out there. And likewise, if it's for a landline, again, if you're dialing somebody in Dublin, you would go +3531 123456778. So that's just so it'll work with the Google Assistant on the Samsung phones. Don't think it affects any other models out there. So just needs to be the Samsung. And finally, this week we bring you more rebranding news. The popular VoiceStream Reader app is now under new management. Winston Chen, who originally built the app, has turned it over to the Applause Group, who reportedly intend to sustain the app. The name has been changed to Text-to-Speech TTS VoiceStream. Winston is holding on to VoiceStream Writer and Scanner, which will rebrand as VD Write and VD Scan respectively. But outside of the names, there are no major changes. The holding company for these apps has also changed to Opus Noma, but that's not really important for app users. It's an interesting change and one we'll keep an eye on in the coming months. VoiceStream has always been popular in the blind community, and hopefully that can continue as a new era for the apps. And that's it for now, but remember, you can always get more news in the NCBI Labs newsletter. You can sign up for that through your My NCBI account on the NCBI website. That's all from me, so it's back over to you, David.
Thank you, Daniel. Yeah, it's really interesting to see even just the complexity there of that Samsung issue, isn't it? That's fascinating to see that you actually have to remove the 0 and add the 353, that you need the country code. You'd wonder what's causing that, because that's certainly not the case on the likes of iOS.
Yeah, it's just particularly with some Samsung smartphones, we've come across it now. And funnily enough, it doesn't affect absolutely everybody who's a Samsung user. It's just a handful out there. And, you know, somebody who's going to their phone and, you know, maybe they're holding the home button to bring up the Google Assistant, then saying, hey, call David, you know, and next thing your phone number comes up on screen and it just sits there. It's waiting for you then to hit the green button to dial. So, you know, for somebody who has low vision or no vision, finding that green button can be quite a challenge.
Sure.
So yeah, so what the best way to fix that is actually just go in, edit the contact number for the person, and change the first, delete out that first 0. So if your number is 0812345 whatever, you just go +353 87 12345.
That's fascinating.
And that'll work then. The next time you go back to Google Assistant, say, "Hey Google, call David," she'll call you.
Very good. I wonder, is there any poor Google Assistant devices calling Davids across the country now? But yeah, that's really cool. And Sky Go getting a dark mode there. Joe, I think you use Sky Go, if I'm not mistaken. Have you found the dark mode in your app yet?
Yeah, occasionally I use Sky Go. Yeah, seen dark mode appeared automatic there because I changed my universal settings to dark mode. I don't really. I like that it kind of the color of the screen. I don't find that useful. My vision isn't good enough, but this is a welcome feature for people that like to use dark mode. Like if you like dark mode in one app, generally you like it in another. So it is very helpful for people. In general with low vision. And Sky Go, the app itself, is quite good actually. You can watch nearly all channels once you have a Sky ID and account and you sign in. So if someone else is watching something on the telly below, you can use your iPad to watch RT or Channel 4 or whatever else you want to watch upstairs or something. But the only downside is it doesn't yet have audio description as far as I can see, so hopefully that'll be on the way soon. Maybe another welcome improvement to Sky. But yeah, they're getting there. They have a lot of new features lately, Sky, and they really are keeping on top of things as far as accessibility is concerned. And I think they are making big strides, even better than a lot of other companies. So I'd like to commend them for that.
Absolutely. That's very true.
And just to add there as well, like dark mode is not only does it serve a benefit for someone with low vision, and they might find the glare of the white background coming off the screen, but even if that's not an issue for you, switching on dark mode, if you're happy enough to navigate with it, you're going to get the benefit that you're going to extend that battery life a little bit longer on your phone. So it's not necessarily a bad thing to have anyway. Getting longer out of the phone for the day. It's the pain point for plenty of smartphone users out there is, will I get the day on my phone on a charge?
Absolutely, and it's a handy way to get that. I've actually got the dark mode there myself the other evening, and it really does look quite well. It's in my view, it is definitely, I find it easier to see for sure. And it makes even something as simple as the channel logos, they pop out that little bit more. So, RTE1, for example, has a blue kind of logo, and that before used to blend in a bit with the blue with the Sky Go app. But now, you have your blue for RTE1, your green for RTE2, and your little white icons for the Virgin channels. And it's good to have those kind of distinctive colors, which is really cool.
Yeah, you're dead right. Yeah, it's brilliant because some of us would probably just rely on icons to identify what it is we're trying to select, and if you can increase the contrast between what the icon is in the background, it's definitely a win-win. So yeah, and even if you don't like using dark mode maybe across all parts of your phone, there is the option in the Sky Go app to just have dark mode for that particular app. I would recommend everyone at least to give it a twirl, try it out, take it for a test drive, see what you think.
Yeah, and absolutely. And if you don't like it, well, sure, you can always go back
and turn it off. You can. Exactly. Absolutely.
There you go. Yeah. One thing you won't be able to turn off though is X. Are you an X user, Daniel? Are you sending X's?
Yeah, I would because I find for sports live updates, particularly with let's say local hurling clubs, local Gaelic football clubs, it's a fantastic tool for small clubs like that who can't afford much more. Being able to use Twitter or X as it's called now for free. You might not be able to get a game. You're able to follow along, see what the scores are. So and I notice an awful lot of clubs that have this free app which will actually put up the player who scored the score as well, so you can kind of have an inkling who's having a good game, and particularly when it's your own club or whatever, and you might know some of the guys playing. I think it's a fantastic tool, so I'll stay with it for that purpose. Yeah,
sure. Yeah. Joe, David, how big of a deal is this?
The fact that
story.
What about the fact that this? Sorry, David, I couldn't hear you cutting in
That's
there.
okay. You're
What
good.
about the fact that it is called X? I read somewhere today that they might have trouble getting it off the ground. People don't like typing in the word .x.com or anything to do with X into their computer or their address bar. So that could be a difficulty to get over the line because it's associated with harmful files, you know.
That's interesting. I never even thought about that. But when you say it, I can understand where it's coming from. You never tend to go for like the X key. Like, you know, it's not one that you reach for very often.
No. An X is a symbol for an executable file, isn't it, as well? So
that's right. Yeah.
I think it has a lot of work to go before this rebrand will get off the ground.
Joe, do you think that the fact that screen readers are skipping that X symbol entirely, do you think that's a big deal? How do you feel about that as a screen reader user yourself?
Yeah, it is definitely a big deal because for a novice screen reader, like it is hard to know what's going on if it's skipping a certain, we'll say, as you said, a symbol like that that's not recognized by certain screen readers. I know if it does become into the mainstream, obviously the screen readers will have to write some sort of code to make it be recognized. But at the moment, that would be a problem. Also, look, I've seen it in the past where they've abbreviated. I was chatting with my colleagues today. They've abbreviated things like Liverpool into LIV, and it recognizes as Roman numerals. So it's pronounced as 54 rather than live. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's where screen readers have some issues with things like that. That's just one simple example. There's probably loads out there. So it has a difficulty when you put things in capital letters. It tries to recognize them in Roman numerals sometimes rather than actual abbreviations. So that can be an issue. It isn't a massive issue. It's just one of these annoying things to happen sometimes. But it would be a massive issue if a rebrand of a program that millions of people used didn't get started very quickly.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. I'm really interested to see what happens when you get to that icon and it can't read the letter. Will it just say double tap to open? Will it even say anything at all? I'm really curious to see what it says.
Yeah, well, if it's in an address bar, it might read something, but if it's in just a line of text that someone writes an article about, I presume it'll just skip over and miss it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting time ahead. Well, folks, thank you so much for telling us all about all that talking technology news. A lot happening this week. Loads of rebrandings and all sorts of really cool stuff. It's a changing world out there. Cool to see. Alrighty, we have loads more still to come, but for now, it's over to JP for Quick Picks.
It's time for NCBI Labs Quick Picks.
Hello, JP.
Hello, David.
How are you getting on? Are you enjoying the show? You're back for the Czech Republic there.
I'm enjoying just the first flight back after meeting with Philip. So
good man.
Ready to be back now in the office.
It's a fast flight, JP.
It was.
Very
like
good.
lightning. So, David, a couple of quick picks this week that are smart home related. People might be interested in finding out about. The first of which is actually an item that actually got me into smart home technology a couple of years ago, which is smart plugs. Some of us might be using these. For anyone who's not, just a smart plug is a special type of plug. It can turn many of the appliances in your home into a smart device. To describe it, a little bit bigger than your standard plug, and when it's set up, you can control devices like lights, your TV, your kettle, coffee maker, and so on, very, very simply through app on your phone or even through your smart speaker. So really nifty devices and fairly inexpensive too, which is a bonus. There's some of the ways that I've been using smart plugs in my home over the last while. I think I've got maybe 4 or 5 of them in the house, maybe a few plugged in at a time. 1 or 2 I keep spare. But I would use them, for example, to turn off my TV every night, turn on and off lights in my kids' bedrooms. So they're kind of like their bedroom lights. So I'd ask my smart speaker to turn them off every night and turn them on in the evening when it gets dark. Christmas time, I'll be using a smart plug with the Christmas tree lights, so I can turn that on and off easy. So no more crawling on beneath the tree. So that's going to be a handy one. Also for security, I think it can be handy. So I was away the last few weeks, I was over in France, and just being able to control the app from your phone, or control the lights at least through the app on your phone, to make sure that it indicates as if there's someone at home.
Really cool.
Of course, smart bulbs would be helpful for this too. In terms of setup, it's fairly straightforward. First thing you need to do is get the plug it into a wall outlet, download an app which is relevant to whichever brand that you've purchased, and then you'll go through some steps, which is basically going to connect that plug to your home Wi-Fi network. So all in all, you're looking at maybe a 5-10 minute setup at most. But one thing I do find very helpful, though, if you do have a smart speaker, and so many of us do nowadays, is actually setting up like a routine. So, for example, the routine that I'll have before going to bed, I'll say the name of the wake word. I'll say it's Alexa, good night, or Alexa, good morning, and all the appliances, for example, those plugs are connected to will turn off, or lamp lights will turn off, or TV will turn off, and in the morning I turn them back on very simply through an Alexa routine that I've set up. Also worth noting as well, because so many of us are kind of looking at our energy bills nowadays, and they're only going one way, which is up.
Yep.
That smart plugs can actually help you save energy by helping you switch off your appliances that might be, on standby mode throughout the night. So that won't be the case. If you have your TV and various appliances off night time, you'll be saving in that regard too. So it can be a good investment. So many brands out there. The one that I've gone for is TP-Link Tapo. That's TAPO smart plugs. And I had a look earlier on today, and you'd be able to pick up 4 of these, a pack of 4 smart plugs from TP-Link Tapo, and they will set you back about maybe 25 or 30 pounds sterling. So not too much, quite affordable.
Yeah.
Devices. Yeah. Joe, I know we were talking about earlier. I think you have some of these set up in the home as well. So I'd be interested to hear how you use them too.
Yeah, Jeffrey, I find them quite useful as well. Obviously, for some of the things you mentioned there, like the Christmas lights and that. But I have one on the baby monitor. So after, not baby anymore, it's a 2.5-year-old toddler, but still use a monitor. And if Freya's in bed, rather than going in and pressing buttons down on plugs and things like that, I can just switch it on with my smart speaker. And I also find it handy even in my little boy's room as well, bedside lamp. It saves me going in to the room, waking kids up, and it can be handy to do discrete things like that as well. So turning off, he likes to go to bed with the bedside lamp on, but obviously to save electricity, you don't want to leave it on all night, so you switch it off remotely with your smart plug. So smart plugs, brilliant for them kind of things.
Yeah,
I've actually got one in the post as we speak. It's expected to arrive either today or tomorrow. But one of the ones I've got is really cool because it can actually do energy monitoring as well. So you can actually it'll log the amount of energy going through the plug in an app, but you can also use that to set automations. So for example, once the voltage reaches a certain amount, it can trigger an automation. So for example, you could use that to turn on the lights behind the television when the telly's turned on or whatever. So there's really cool
I like
stuff
that. Can you recall which brand did you order?
The one I went, it's on the slightly more expensive side. The one I went for was the Eve Energy, which is one of the Matter enabled smart plugs. We have an article explaining Matter on the NCBI website. But I went for one of the Matter ones because I've been really impressed with Eve's products before.
Excellent. That's one that's a good point, actually, is very often I find it helpful to kind of stay with the same brand where possible. Like, so if for example, I have got some smart bulbs, I think a few of us do as well at home. And if they are TP-Link smart bulbs, at least then I can control those through the same app. I'm not having to download several apps for different brands of these different smart devices on my phone. So I find that quite helpful, to be able to have one kind of central app to control many of these like the glow bulbs and lights. So that can be a helpful one. But that's interesting, David. The second item I know we had a quick discussion on earlier was the Eve door and window sensor, an accessory think you were saying that you've just received or recently received.
I've been using it quite
pass
recently.
It over to you actually for this one. I'd love to get your thoughts and your feedback so far on this for anyone who's listening.
I'm really impressed, JP. I'm really impressed. So the Eve door and window is basically it's a contact sensor. So it's basically two tiny magnets, and you'd stick one, for example, let's say you're using it on a door. You'd stick one to the door and then the other to the door frame. So when those two magnets come into contact with each other, then you know the sensor knows that door is closed. You'll be familiar with this concept if you have maybe a house alarm at home that has sensors for the windows. Many of them use this kind of technology. But you can use things like these contact sensors to trigger automations again. So one of the ones we set up now is we have one on the kitchen door. So let's say you go down to get a drink at night or whatever. When you open the door, it'll turn on the light in the kitchen. And then once you're done, you just close the door and the light turns off. And it's been quite reliable, I must say. I've been really happy with how it's worked. I've been quite satisfied actually with the Eve door and window. Quite a cool little product.
That's impressive. I suppose you could tee up your favorite music to play or something, could you? If you walked into a room, you'd have some of your favorite music playing or something like that.
Nothing to stop it. Yeah, absolutely. And it's great as well. It's great as well because let's say you're away from home or whatever, you can actually ask your smart speaker of choice. Certainly on the Apple side, you can certainly ask Siri whether you've left the door open or closed. So you can ask Siri, is the kitchen door open? And she'll say, yeah, it's open, or no, it's actually closed. So that's a really cool thing that you can do as well with those kind of devices. Really great little units.
Excellent. That's great. I think that's our two devices, smart home related devices for our quick picks this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And if people do have quick picks that maybe they have used and want to send in to us, please do email labs@ncbi.ie because we'd love to hear from them and see what you're using out there, what kind of cool tech you're using. It's great to share this kind of technology because you never know what people are using out there.
For sure, exactly.
Alrighty, so that is about our lot for this episode of Talking Technology. We will have to run off to see is there any Coldplay tickets left. Were you in the hunt for the Coldplay tickets, JP, Joe? Are either of you in the hunt?
I was a massive Coldplay fan. I even entered a competition yesterday to win them. I didn't win, but
no.
I'll keep trying. Keep trying, David.
Where were you in the queues this morning, JP? Or were you in the queue?
I wasn't that far extreme now, but I'm going to keep trying to get tickets. I haven't been to see them though before, but I would love to see them live.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But I think there's a few trying around the NCBI this morning, and I know they're trying at home as well. The sister in particular really wants to go and see Coldplay, so we'll have to wait and see whether they'll drag me along. We'll wait and see. But with that said, we didn't have Coldplay, but we've had a great hour of technology content. I really do hope you enjoyed it. We are going to be back in 2 weeks' time, same place, right here on Teams, and maybe somewhere new as well. We'll be telling you all about that maybe in 2 weeks' time, assuming that it all worked well. We'll have to wait and see. We've been testing some really cool new stuff today, but we'll tell you all about that hopefully in 2 weeks' time. But for now, thank you so much for listening. If you do want to get in touch with NCBI Labs while we're away, absolutely please do send us an email, labs@ncbi.ie, or give us a call. 1-800-911-110 is the number that you need. But for now, thank you so much for listening. This has been the Talking Technology podcast. Until next time, have a good week and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Talking Technology podcast with NCBI Labs. If you would like to support our show, you can visit donate.ncbi.ie. The NCBI Labs Talking Technology podcast is proudly sponsored by IA Labs, the market leader in the provision of digital accessibility services.